I was sitting outside on my porch recently on a cloudy day. I've always liked cloudy days because everything is just calmer. The world seems to move slower. It's such a contradiction to the hustle and bustle of the world. And it got me thinking about the pace of my life. More often than not, I feel like I'm rushing through my days, trying to get a million things done. I live a lot of my life in a hurry, and to be honest, I'm pretty convinced that we simply try to do too much in life. I came up with a couple thoughts that I'd like to share with you about how to know you're moving too fast and how to slow down. So the first thing we need to establish is, how do you even know you're moving fast in the first place? I know whenever I have this constant thought of, all right, I need to hurry up and finish so I can move on to the next thing. So for example, when I'm in the kitchen washing dishes, if the only thing I can think about is finishing the next dish, then I know I'm moving too fast. But if while I'm washing dishes, I let my mind wander and bring up that embarrassing memory from like 10 years ago that still bothers me today, then that's a good sign that I'm moving at the right pace. Often, as a result of moving fast, I end up compromising the quality of whatever it is I'm doing too. Once I catch myself thinking about how I can't wait to finish and move on to the next thing, I slow down. I take a deep breath, and I tell myself, literally out loud, okay, it looks like you're in a hurry. Let's slow down. Then I tell myself, you know what? I'm gonna make this the cleanest plate I've ever washed. I'm gonna make these the prettiest vegetables I've ever cut. The reason this helps me slow down is that it forces me to give attention to detail. I go from rushing through a task to doing it with intention. Now maybe you're thinking, okay, that sounds good and nice and all, but I have too many things to do and I can't afford to even slow down. Well, in this case, maybe the question that needs to be asked is, do I really need to be doing all of these things today? In a culture where we get points for being productive, we tend to bite off more than we can chew. I mean, it's more common that we're rushing to get things done than it is to be sitting around having extra time on our hands. So whenever I find myself faced with an unending list of tasks and not enough time, what that tells me is I'm trying to do too much. I need to swallow my productivity pride and figure out my priorities. This is where I find it helpful to sort out your negotiables from your non-negotiables. For example, let's say bedtime is in 30 minutes, but you still have to water the garden and do your workout for the day. One option is to try to do both and potentially end up with an underwatered garden and a mediocre workout. Alternatively, you look at your timeline realistically and realize you really have time for just one of those things if you want to do it well. So you choose one based off whatever's more important that day. And you end up doing it with calmness, with intention, and doing it well because you're not rushing through it. There are very few things that are urgent on a day-to-day basis, but we make ourselves think that they are. The reality is, more things can wait than we think. There are ways we can set ourselves up to make ourselves more efficient and to hopefully avoid putting ourselves in that type of situation. If you're a type A personality like me, sometimes you can get too obsessed with crossing things off your to-do list and watching that to-do list shrink because it's satisfying, and you don't always think about how to do it the most efficient way. But one thing that helps me optimize my time is doing tasks of a similar type at the same time. For example, let's say you're behind on emails, on phone calls and text messages. All of those things require the mind to be in communication mode. Once you start one of those things, you have the mental momentum to keep going since your mind is already in that same mode. I know it can be hard to slow down because a lot of us feel like we always have to be doing something. But usually the consequences of slowing down are positive. It's kind of like when you're in bed at night and you think to yourself, I could scroll on my phone until my eyelids close. Or I could put my phone away and focus on my breathing or meditate or pray. I've noticed that the times I choose to focus on my mind and to slow down, I get this peace and calmness that's honestly quite incomparable to the temporary high of scrolling on my phone. So the moments in your day when you feel like you have too much to do and can't afford to slow down are precisely the moments you need to take a deep breath and tell yourself, it's okay to slow down.